Are you curious about enabling smarter, more sustainable design decisions at every step of the design process? Our next guest can do just that for you and a whole lot more. She is the Sustainable Design Program Manager with Autodesk. Dawn Danby, welcome back into Tomorrow. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I think when we last had you on the show, it was at Autodesk Gallery, was it, in San Francisco,
That's
which
right.
is a great place to see some very cool things. And the general public can even do that, I think, once a month. So check that out at Autodesk. But we had an opportunity to talk with you then about sustainable design. So if you would tell our audience who might have missed that, what is sustainable design, first of all, and we'll take it from there.
Well, sustainable design has to do with being able to create products or buildings, cities, and doing it with an eye to the environmental impact of the decisions you're making. And so as a designer, if I'm designing a building, I'm taking into account a whole range of things. Aside from just the building, I'm looking at the energy use of that building, the water use of that building, maybe even the carbon footprint of that building, and the impact on the land. So a whole range of things, materials go into it. And so those are the kinds of considerations that a designer or engineer or planner would begin to take into consideration.
And you talk about impact then. So what exactly does that mean? The impact on the environment per se and all those elements that relate to the environment?
Yeah, and we are part of the environment
Sure.
as humans, so impact on the environment and on human health as well. Has all of that has to do with sustainability. If you choose materials that are non-toxic for a building on the inside of a building, that has an impact on human health as well. But with regard to impact, it's useful just to remember that every time we make a decision, whether it's as a consumer or as a designer, we're constantly when we're dealing with material things, those material things have to come from somewhere and they have an impact on the environment. And designers and engineers have a really unique opportunity where they are making a whole range of really powerful decisions about how a city would look or how a building might come together.
So even from a single building to a master plan of an entire city, as
Absolutely.
you mentioned, there's all these elements that have to be considered, and no doubt Autodesk software as well can come in and play an important role in all the various steps and various stages.
That's right. I mean, it's a different set of calculations. If you're a mechanical engineer, you may be looking at materials. If you're doing civil engineering, you'll be looking at things like stormwater impact or land use impact. They're different kinds of calculations, so you look at sustainability with a slightly different lens, but ultimately you're really looking at environmental impact.
I heard you mention something before we were on the air about a difference in being a designer and thinking like a designer. And I thought, ooh, deep thought. Share with our audience how that plays a role then.
Well, I think that there's lots of ways that a person can be a designer, and the approach that designers may take in terms of coming up with new ideas or prototyping concepts. Sometimes people do that in business or in different kinds of contexts. I mean, there's groups of folks within Autodesk who actually take those kinds of approaches when we're prototyping new products. But it's also true in the sense that you begin to just try out different kinds of ideas. So engineers can think that way as well. Design is not necessarily limited to the designer.
Gotcha. Now, as much fun as you, I think, have in what you do and keeping it going and keeping that excitement level up as well for sustainability, there must be some issues as well that make you go, we're not there yet, or we've got to work harder. What keeps you up at night then?
Well, we have some really substantial problems around global climate change, and our ability to, as designers and as people and citizens, to be able to catch up and really start to solve those our impact on the environment and on global emissions. To be able to do that fast enough concerns me. I think we're at a really interesting point where there's lots of opportunity, but at the same time, it's still a point of concern for me.
You think maybe we're dragging our feet a little too much?
We have a tendency to drag our feet a little bit. And at the same time, I'm seeing enormous speed and uptake among some of our customers. I mean, there are architects and engineers and designers that use Autodesk software who are doing the kinds of analysis on buildings and objects and consumer products that they've never done before. They're moving really quickly.
That's encouraging.
Absolutely. No, I think there's many reasons to be encouraged and optimistic in terms of in those communities.
Great.
For sure.
Well, we'll give you another reason. Visit Dawn's website at Autodesk because they've got a lot of great ideas and great opportunities. Take advantage of them and stop dragging your feet. By all means, Autodesk.com/green. Couldn't be easier and get you in the right frame of mind. Dawn, as always, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. You've opened our eyes and our minds to think like a designer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Back with more as Into Tomorrow continues. I'm Dave Graveline. This, the Advanced Media Network.